Hello, my name is Georganne Ford, and I'm with the Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation. And today I have with us one of our attorney mediators that you've probably seen before on some of his awesome blogs that he's done. And I believe, Mike, Routh, you are here to talk to us about some of how to make the effects of what happens with children through divorce, just make it a little bit easier and take off some of that stress of those children that go through so much.
Right. One of our biggest goals, if not the main goal here at the Alpha Center, is to help with through this process with your children. A lot of the time they sit there and watch their parents fight and argue about things that they don't quite understand. And a lot of the time in the divorce process, the adults will get bogged down by selfish thoughts about what's important to them, when at the end of the day, it really is about the children that come out of the relationship. And I remind my clients all the time that that's why we're here. You might think that some of these property decisions that we're going to make about, who gets the car or the money or things like that are important at the time. But at the end of the day, it's really about, the kids. That's why we entered this relationship, and we have to continue to be mom and dad despite the way that we might feel about the other person.
Wow. Yeah, that's got to be really hard because we do want to continue to be mom and dad, but there's so much stuff that comes into play. So help us out. What do we do?
Well, what I like to point out is through our mediation program, because of that emphasis on the children, we offer a way to kind of get around that. When you go out and you each get your own individual attorney, you're going to spend a lot of time in this process called litigation. You're going to have to go to court. You're going to have to stand in front of the judge. You're going to maybe have to speak to a additional family court mediator, and all these things take time. So that process gets stretched out further and further and requires you to spend time away from your kids. With our mediation program, our goal is to write a marital settlement agreement for you and your spouse within a period of anywhere from 1.5 to 4 months, and that gives you an opportunity to spend more time with the people that are important to you, your children. So we get you through that process. We eliminate that adversarial approach, which creates that tension in the house, that stress in the house. And
how do you get us through? How do we go through that process? What's that look like?
Well, the first thing that you do is you sit down with one of our parenting mediators, and that's not necessarily done with me. I always tell my clients I'm not a professional in that field, but our parenting mediators are. They're therapists. They have that background, that social worker background, and they sit down and help you write a custody agreement and a parenting arrangement that will be fair to both parties. And so that's the first piece. So you get that in place immediately, so you know what you're doing with your children.
Is that sorry, I'm interrupting, but is that part of the package? Is it part of the program?
Yes, it is. It is part of our flat fee. Yes.
Okay. That just sounds like something I haven't heard before and would be really valuable.
Right. If you do it, from the other angle, if you go out and you get your own attorney, you're going to have to write a custody agreement, but you're going at it from two different angles. You're not sitting down together and crafting an agreement that will work for both of you. You're having your attorneys kind of come at each other from two different sides. And I don't know at the end of the day if you're necessarily getting what you want or what you bargain for. Having that person sitting down with you in a group is a little bit easier to communicate what your needs and most importantly what your children's needs are to each other.
It just seems like it would be very valuable to concentrate on trying to manage our own emotions and really put those children first and sit down together. And as hard as that is, how valuable is that to the children?
Right. We like to think, you often hear this thread that that children are young and they'll heal, right? They'll get over it. And that's, I think as we go through the years, we learn that that's not necessarily the case. That a lot of stuff gets implanted on them early on in their lives. And when they see mom and dad, being at each other's throats, that's kind of what they remember. So being able to solve this process or this problem pretty quickly helps them move on to the new arrangement and in their lives too, kind of like what mom and dad are doing, going out and starting a new chapter in their lives, the children are able to do the same.
Hmm. What else program wise is included? Because that right there to me would be one of the biggest value added. But what else? Walk me through, like, what's different about the Alpha Center versus.
Well, at the Alpha Center, we basically do the same thing that you would find in courts. You know, we take you through the same processes. So you do write a custody agreement and make that parenting arrangement. We do touch upon child support. The next piece that we do is the equitable distribution of the assets and the debts in the marriage. So we take you through that process much the same way that your individual attorney was, and we're going to give you the same background as you would get legally from them as well. The good thing about it is that once again we get to make those decisions together. You're not leaving it up to a third party like a judge, a disinterested judge to tell you what's going to happen with your life. You know, this is going to be an agreement that's crafted by the parties.
Mm-hmm. So if we were trying to say, if our main goal was, okay, we want to save money and we're concerned about the children, even though we're fighting all the time, mediation is, if we could actually get to that point, would be really valuable for us.
Right. And I have to tell, I have to caution clients as well that, to kind of lay aside their expectations of the way that this is going to go. Because we do have to make some concessions, and we do have to be able to formulate some agreements and able to be successful in mediation. So we have to kind of lay aside what we think that we deserve and actually, understand the process that we are splitting. We are splitting basically a corporation that operated with two partners. Now we each only have one partner. So, the assets are going to be less, the income's going to be less, and we're going to do our best to make those, two separate entities be able to go out and operate successfully on their own. So, sometimes when clients have the thought that they might be living the same way as they were when they were married, we kind of have to take a step back and look at that.
Can you give an example, like when you have seen that stress just be reduced with the children because a couple sat down with you at the table and, connected and said, we've got to do this for the kids. We've got to make
Right.
this about them.
And a lot of the time, Georganne, I'm able to share my own experience because that's, what happened with me. And I think that, helps people understand that that's why they're here. That's why they're able to sit down at the mediation table and do this together, because we have these children as a result of our marriage, as a result of our relationship. And so now it's about them. And I think I said it before, but I always remind them, like, most importantly, like you get to still be mom and dad. And the children are always going to look at you that way, regardless of whether you're together or not. And I know that's what's happened with me too, because of that ability. Back when I was going through some emotional problems with my ex-spouse, that we were able to work through them. And now as a result, 10 years later, I have a successful relationship as a father and as a family unit, right? Because everybody's still going to be considered family regardless.
What a great, I think hearing that from you, that you've been through that yourself, and here you are 10 years later, and how valuable those relationships are, that I'm sure that really plays a part when you're meeting couples and helping them through that.
Right. I think I was saying at the beginning that we tend to have, think about our selfish needs. But if I'm able to convey that message, that the reason why we're here is not so we can determine how to split the bank account. It's, how we can continue to be successful mom and dad to our children as we move forward, and kind of make that the most important piece of this rather than the property settlement.
The last thing I'm getting from this, and tell me if I'm wrong, is if we're able to do that, we're able to move forward into our own separate lives. The couple is, because they did get through that. That's the biggest, one of the biggest hurdles. And therefore we're not locked up into a mess for years and years and years.
right? They're going to continue to have to make decisions for their children.
Right.
Be it their medical decisions or education decisions, anything that important that happens in their lives. You have to be able to attend weddings, graduations, birthday parties. How tough is it if you don't get along with the other person? Then you start to skip out on those events that are important to the kids. And that just creates, all that tension and stress once again.
So I feel that stress just going off for people for some of this. Anything else you want to tell us about or share with us, and how to reduce the effects of this on our children?
Right. I think most importantly is kind of what you were touching on, is that ability to get through this parenting mediation sooner than later. I always tell people that the key to success for this is that ability to communicate with the other party, understanding that we're going to provide you a guideline of how to do that, but that communication piece is still going to kind of be up to them. Um, and that's a big word, because we do tend to forget how to communicate a little bit. But if we're able to be successful with that, then we're going to be successful as mom and dad in raising our kids.
Wow. Very helpful. So thanks, Mike. It's so helpful to be able to go and to just get information without it before I even had to contact you guys, just through these blogs. But just to put out there to anybody who's listening, you can get a free consultation at the Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation. Anyone who answers the phone, very friendly, very helpful with any questions that you have. So please feel free to reach out to any of our attorneys, anybody in the office. They're all very knowledgeable. And the phone number is 1-800-310-9085.